Danish video games, are they really worth playing? Today I will try some games made in Denmark, mostly for the early 2000s and forward. I was born in Denmark, so it will be interesting to see how different the gameplay is compared to American and Japanese games. And of course, I will not play the Lego games, because a lot of people have probably already played these games. They are great games for the most part. But these games we are talking about today are made by AAA studios and indie developers. Let's see if they have any experience in video game development. If you have played any of these games, leave a comment below. I would love to hear your experience. But anyway, let's start with
China.
Kane and Lynch 2 is the sequel to Kane and Lynch Dead Man. In the opening minutes of the game, the two managed to anger the most powerful man in China by accidentally killing a woman who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Together, the two must survive and eventually escape the city, as they simultaneously fail at almost every single goal they set, or else worsen their situation through general incompetence. I think the opening and the cutscenes are fine, but then the game has a lot of other issues, like single player mode takes only 3 to 4 hours to beat. The story itself is insane and it may be easy to follow, but is poorly written and feels like a bad James Bond movie. The cover mechanics are utterly useless unless you can find a place that cut off from one side or the other and hog a wall corner. The guns aren't varied and there isn't really much of a selection. The shotgun is the only gun worthwhile in the game because it is more accurate than any other gun, even at longer distances, and the other weapons seem to have so much kickback that even if you aim directly at somebody's head, it will magically miss. The only thing that I can give this game is the camera effects / graphics. It looks semi-decent even though the player models look like plastic. And the online play is semi-decent as well. But like the single player campaign, it gets very repetitive as there are only 6 maps to play on. 9 if you choose to get the DLC, and the game modes are throwbacks from the first game apart from the undercover cockpit. Also, you run completely naked and lash it through the streets in one level, and later in the campaign you shoot out of a helicopter that only lasts for about 8 minutes. So yeah, that is about the most variation you will get from this game. You get in a room, you have to find a key to unlock a door and get out before the ghost wakes up and kills you. It reminds me a lot of good old Newgrounds Flash games I played a lot of in 2005. I like roguelikes, have beaten Rogue Legacy, run through Binding of Isaac now and again and all that. The core concept of the game is solid, but plays like a cut-rate Mexican version of Splunky. The first hour or 2 are interesting and challenging, but once you get the goofy mechanics of controlling your character and upgrade your weapon a little, it becomes really grindy. What at first seems like a decent spread of items and modifications pretty quickly gets kind of boring. Get to shop, buy any weapon upgrades you can, get the heart sign to regenerate hearts, rinse, wash and repeat. The enemies suffer from the same lack of originality and you start to see repeats of limited behaviors with variation in sprites. Same thing with the levels. An extra couple of room layouts will have broken up the monotony. So, the upside is potential, right? If another 5 or 10 weapons could be come up with, that would keep things fresh. Same with the other items and enemies and rooms. Honestly, just go buy Rogue Legacy instead for a much more polished and fun experience. But for now, I'm on level 65 in this game and just kind of losing interest. This game looks like a Super Mario 64 ripoff, but I was surprised how good the gameplay is. And it has a colorful world with funny characters and great voice acting. The main character feels a lot like a female Mario. She has the same friendly personality and jumps around a lot. No part of this game is dull or repetitive. Every level tries something new. You will go from casual platforming to a detective murder case, then back to platforming with cool mechanics. And by finding and collecting rare magical yarn, she can stitch new cute hats with a variety of abilities, including a witch hat that allows her to cook explosive concoctions, and a wooden ghost mask that allows her to peek into other dimensions. Hats can become even more powerful by attaching badges that are found, sold and traded by the locals. The folks at Gears of Breakfast deserve huge props. They come from a modding background, TF2 mods, and have made this beautiful, fully fledged game. They show talent, and they also show compassion for the modding community. Meaning this game will be held alive by the community alone. It is a great practice that benefits us all as consumers, and seriously, a lot of developers will learn from it. It's not the longest game in the world, but it has wonderful levels, interesting characters, and great boss battles. I strongly recommend this game to anyone who likes collectibles/platform games. You will love every minute of this adventure, especially Battle of the Birds. It's extremely rare we get a wonderful platform game like this. Promise me you will try it on PC or consoles someday. The story has a great sci-fi feel. You travel around while you are talking with your friend named London, while the voice actors are doing a great job in my opinion, and the graphics looks pretty damn good with full 4K settings on PC. Plus you will think twice before bringing up the heavy guns into the play, and such considerations feel refreshing. But sadly, after the game opening and showing you all the moves, the game basically stays the same pretty much until its end. What I mean is that you get a hold of your variety of skills, try some basic strategies of them, and you are good to go for the rest of the game. Your enemies are dumb as rocks. You can change the way they move around and the way they try to kill you should they see you, but their general behavior, pretty much patrolling routes, stays the same. The game adds some new elements from time to time, elevators for instance, but it's not something groundbreaking that will force you to develop a new tactics. Nothing forces you to use riskier or whatsoever different approaches, and so the ever-changing game stays pretty rigid. What a paradox. It also seems that the developers were aware of that, hence the emergence of the golden adversaries in the late game, which are basically overpowered common game enemies. All in all, Echo is not exactly a bad game and certainly appeals to a demanding niche audience, but it fell short of value at its price point with the lack of diversity offered. More surprising enemies that show signs of intelligence will have made this game less disappointing.
Spaceballs?
This is probably what will happen if Team Fortress 2 and Left 4 Dead dressed up as Starship Troopers and made love while Minecraft watched it from the other side of the room. Truly a gem worth mining for. Deep Rock Galactic is a horde-based first-person shooter mixed with random generated exploration. Unlike other horde shooters, this one has a special joy to it. Deep Rock Galactic is a one-time purchase deal. You pay the immediate fee and you get everything the game offers. You can get every cosmetic, every weapon, every upgrade, everything. With the exception of the optional DLCs, which only provide cosmetic items and really only exist to support the developers. Basic gameplay. You have 4 dwarves: Gunner, the firepower; Driller, the support; Engineer, the fortifier; Scout, the explorer. Each are perfectly balanced to be good on their own, but they have their obvious weaknesses. As the Gunner, you have the strongest weapons this game can offer. You are the damage. You kill anything with more legs than 2. As the Engineer, you can fortify bases like nobody else. Your turret provides great cover fire. Your platforms have many uses. Need something to stand on. Platform. Need a wall. Platforms. Filling holes. Platforms. As the Scout, your single target damage and mobility is unrivaled. You can easily eliminate high priority targets, warn the team of threats, explore and gather minerals and more. Explore the caves of Hoxes and do your objective. All the while, hundreds of bugs stand in your way. The developer team knows exactly how the community is and is aware how different they are from other developers. Ghost Ship Games isn't money hungry. Hell, you can't even subscribe to their Twitch channel. There are so many other things I can say, but please, just play for yourself. I cannot express everything in this video without becoming a 4-page essay. In my opinion, this is the best multiplayer game a Danish video game developer has ever made.
Mexico.
I played this game on PlayStation 2 when I was a teenager, so I thought it was the same game. But to my surprise, it's a lot more different. In fact, I like this version much more than original, and it is what it should have been in a principle. A fast third-person shooter without an unnecessary and mediocre open world. The cutscenes in this game are really well made and made me laugh out loud many times, like this one.
Happy birthday, Dad! Ramiro, what joy! I'm just about to crack this drug traficantes case. And then you come along and you bring me... kittens!
早上好，中国！现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋，但是速度与激情就比冰淇淋速度与激情就我最喜欢，所以现在是音乐时间，准备1、2、3，哟！2个礼拜以后，速度与激情就不要忘记，要做过去，因为看速度与激情就。我们非常好的电影，动作非常好，差不多一样。冰淇淋再见。
A big thumbs up for that. The gameplay reminds me of a sort of Max Payne / Duke Nukem. Going around shooting enemies with a shotgun, pick up ammo, health packs, and run Mexican people over with a tractor. Everything you love about a low budget movie. When you walk around, there is no music, but when you kill enemies, the music will start pumping. Many people have issue with this, but not a big problem if you ask me. If you die in this game, you can rewind time, but at some point, if you fail, you have to restart the level. There is no checkpoint. I was also surprised at the amount of replay value this game has. The stages themselves have a medal system. There are challenge stages in between and heaps of unlockables. There's also an El Macho mode where you have to keep a combo going as long as you can to get a high score. The shooter equivalent of endless mode, and the stages have to be unlocked through the one player mode. This may be a simple game at first, once you get used to the controls, but unlocking everything and getting the high scores requires real skill and practice. Overall, a fun, over-the-top shooter with puzzle game qualities. Simple to learn, hard to master. The game is fun to play the first 2 hours. Blowing up aliens with your bombs and your machine gun arm reminds me of Barret from Final Fantasy VII. I like the main character, Bombshell, but her dialogue is alright at best. Graphics are okay, even though it looks kinda like a PS3 game, but doesn't really bother me. But I must say, Bombshell is one of those games that could have been good if it wasn't plagued with so many problems. The biggest issue is the FPS being atrocious, slowing down constantly when so much happens in both the background and during combat. The story feels more like exposition that doesn't offer much to the overall plot, and the writing is filled with obnoxious one-liners. Enemies themselves are decent and are somewhat varied. It can start getting old after the second level as the attacks are not varied. They will simply chase you around and shoot while other enemies are poisonous and will slowly eat out your life. Boss characters themselves I found to be sometimes unresponsive. Although they were bigger in size, they were not at all more intimidating. Some stood there just letting me shoot at them from a distance. There are consumables you can pick up along your journey. You will definitely need health packs to keep your player going. If you die, no big deal. Simply respawn, but lose a little cash. Overall, the game starts getting old after the third level. Sad as it seems, there could have been a lot more destruction added to the game. Just wasn't there. It's like it tried to be the next big Duke Nukem game, but fails horribly.
I want to be ninja.
Artistically, Mini Ninjas is very hard not to love with lovely musics and sounds that delight the ears are in perfect harmony with the action, and some of the cutest graphics I have ever seen. Even if the textures are a little rough on the edge, they are okay for a 2009 game. Really a great art job, I must say. IO Interactive. The story is what you will expect from a childish ninja game, with little jokes to please the older audience of the game. It also adds a smattering of modern day depth to that via a sprinkle of sandbox-like exploration, regular inventory menus, and the odd element from various games such as Prince of Persia and Zelda. And if you want to finish the game to the 100%, it will take you about 12 hours with some replay value if you want to try different styles of gameplay, which is again what you will expect with a game like that. Now gameplay wise, there are some camera issues during the fights, is clearly the weak point of the game. The first hours were so awesome. You will be introduced to so many things you can choose to fight, like a warrior, a ninja or a wizard using magic, collect ingredients to make potions, etc. That's when you realized that the same developers also did Hitman. You can deal with each situation in different ways. Of course it's not as developed as in Hitman, but still very nice to have. The issue is that you are given too much at the start and don't get anything new at the end of the game, and that the lack of difficulty, even in the hardest mode, also makes those different not very important. No matter what you choose, it will always be easy. In conclusion, this was a lovely game, especially the first hours that were awesome, but the lack of difficulty, a weak camera and some trouble in game design may ending boring you. Still a must for young players and recommendable for everyone else. A shame they didn't get a chance to sharpen the experience with a sequel. But just don't play the PC version. I much more recommend it on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3.
I made a deal with the devil, Jimmy.
You will enjoy this game, the first 5 minutes at least. Yeah. The short story is, it starts hard and ends nearly impossible. Long story is, it's doable, sure, but it requires a level of precision and memorization that starts to defy the challenging yet fair tagline the game flies. It becomes less of a tough game and more of a droning grind of just doing the same tiny segment of level over and over until you do it exactly right. It's not fun. There's a balance that games like Dark Souls nails perfectly. It's a tough game, but honestly, an experienced player can breeze through it. Older games like Castlevania also get it right. The difficulty was more about your ability to go quite a distance with good play. Wings of Six quickly devolves into challenge you to go a very short distance with perfect play. That's not satisfying gameplay. It's bashing your head against a wall until it works, and then you bash on the next wall. I didn't finish the game, but I did get to the final boss. This was where my patience just ran out. I just didn't have the patience anymore to spend 30 minutes to an hour repeating the same 20 seconds of game content, until I finally had the privilege of seeing the next 10 seconds of content to grind out in turn. The same process that had me feeling unfulfilled with the last several bosses. It starts strong, tough, but reasonable. But the difficulty only goes up and up into the realm of the unreasonable. Instead of torturing yourself with this game, just play Super Meat Boy or Celeste if you want a good challenge. And finally,
Time to troll!
Hugo, Black Diamond Fever is a 3D platform game starring Hugo the TV troll. Scylla, the evil witch, has enslaved the inhabitants of Volcano Island with the help of Don Crocodile and his crocodiles. The Kikurians are put to work in the mines. They have to delve rare black diamonds, which she requires for a formula to become a young, pretty woman again. An imprisoned elder Kikurian sends a letter for help to Hugo. Now it's up to you to stop Scylla. This is a game I played a lot when I was 7 years old. I borrowed from my school friend, so I have some good memories from this game, even though it's a really short game. This is a platform game where you walk around in levels, defeating enemies by hitting them with your whip. Sadly, the whip is not very useful. Many times I couldn't hit the enemy because of the short range. so I avoided all the enemies for the most part. Along the way, diamonds can be collected, Kikorians can be freed, which is pretty much save points. The game thankfully has a difficulty mode, easy, normal and hard. This is an old PlayStation game, so the save system is a password system. That is good and bad, but good for the most part, because you can find all the levels on some websites. Thank you so much, Margrethe. Even when you play on hard mode, you have a big health bar and it's very easy to get a 1-up, so you pretty much never run out of them. The biggest danger in this game is pitfalls, and there is a lot of them, so it's best to take it easy, even though if you jump you can pretty much speedrun the game, because it gives you a little boost every time you jump. The graphics are pretty good for a PlayStation game, plus the cutscenes. But the camera in the levels are really bad, so you can't even see the enemies before they hit you, for the most part. But overall, many critics gave this game a bad review. But I think if you can get it for $10 or $7, it is worth the money. I definitely give it a 7 out of 10. So I think you should give it a shot. So that was some games made in Denmark. At first I thought I will only find horrible video games, but to my surprise I actually found some hidden gems. Danish people usually only made video games for PC in the 90s, but now they have really stepped up their game and giving us a great selection of video games you can play on PC and consoles. But anyway, what is your favorite country for video games? My favorite will always be Japan, but I must admit American indie games are really high quality right now. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. I'm Rijad, and as always, I'll see you next time right here on OmegasMovie.